Major Australian lenders are shutting the door on trust lending. Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right as an investor, yet the banks keep changing the rules on you? Because right now, that's exactly what's happening. Australian lenders, big ones, are quietly tightening the door on trust lending. Policy shifting, extra documentation, higher scrutiny, random rejections. And investors who have used trusts for years are suddenly hearing the word no. If that's you, you're not alone. And today we're going to break down what's happening and why it matters and what you can do to stay one step ahead. Hi, I'm Lloyd from Oz Property Professionals, and in this video we'll cover what's actually changing with trust lending, why lenders are tightening their criteria, the risks this creates for investors, when a trust still makes sense, and how to structure your moves so you don't get stuck. Let's jump in. On paper, trust lending still exists, but the experience tells a different story. Here's what's happening behind the scenes. More lenders are reducing their appetite for trust structures. Some banks won't accept certain types of trusts at all. Others require full financials, trust deeds, amendments, even if nothing has changed. Serviceability calculators for trusts are getting harsher, and margin for error, basically zero. It's not that banks dislike investors, they dislike complexity and perceived risk. And right now, trusts fall into that category. But why now? Great question. Why lenders are tightening criteria? There are three big forces driving this shift. First, compliance pressure. APRA has been tightening expectations around responsible lending, and banks are moving towards simple borrower profiles. Trusts, not simple. Second, risk management. Lenders want clear income, clean structures, and easy to assess liability. But trusts, they can have multiple beneficiaries, varying income distributions, corporate trustees, and the banks don't love uncertainty. And third, cost and processing time. Trust applications take more time, more staff, and more scrutiny. Banks want speed and efficiency. Trusts slow everything down. So instead of rejecting trusts outright, lenders are making the process so tight and uncomfortable that many investors simply give up. But this creates a new problem. The risks investors now face. When lenders quietly pull back, investors get caught in the crossfire. Here's what that looks like. Delayed settlements. You think your trust loan is fine, then suddenly the bank wants more documents, meaning delays, stress, and potential penalties. Lower borrowing capacity. Trust lending often gets assessed harsher, meaning you borrow less even if your financials haven't changed. Fewer lending options. Some investors now only have one or two lenders willing to look at a trust application, which is dangerous if those lenders tighten further. Strategy roadblocks. If your entire investment plan relies on trust structures, you could suddenly find yourself unable to execute your next move. Unexpected paperwork blowouts. Reissuing deeds, proving distributions, supplying accountant letters, all things investors didn't expect. And here's the kicker. By the time most people realize trust lending is tightening, it's already too late. But here's the good news. Trusts aren't dead. They're just not a blanket solution anymore. Let's talk about when they still work. When a trust still makes sense. Trusts are still powerful tools when used strategically. They make sense when you genuinely need asset protection, business separation, income distribution flexibility, long-term tax planning with your accountant, multiple family member involvement. But here's the honest truth. Most investors were taught that trusts equal tax benefits, and that's not always correct. A trust should support a strategy, not be the strategy. And in a lending environment where banks are tightening, you want structures that keep you moving, not ones that box you in. So what's the game plan now? How to stay ahead and keep borrowing power strong. You have three smart moves here. Move 1. Review your structure before your next purchase. Don't assume what worked 2 years ago still works today. Strategic property planning starts with borrowing power clarity. Move 2. Compare lenders, not just products. Some banks still welcome trust applications, others don't. Knowing which is which can make or break your strategy. Move 3. Build a structure based on strategy, not products. Your accountant, your broker, and your property strategy need to align. When those three are in sync, the lending piece becomes far smoother, because at the end of the day, your structure determines your capacity determines your options, and your options determine your results. Here's what to remember. Lenders aren't banning trusts, they're tightening them. Borrowing through a trust now requires more scrutiny, more documentation, and more strategic clarity. The wrong structure can delay settlements, lower borrowing power, and stall your entire plan. Trusts still make sense, but only when they serve a bigger strategy. The smartest investors right now are reviewing their setup before the next move. If this helped you understand what's happening with trust lending, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around for the next video, how to double your money in property in 10 years. I'm Lloyd from Aus Property Professionals, dedicated to helping you invest smarter, structure correctly, and stay ahead of the lending game. See you in the next video.